What's up, guys? Today's video is going to be one of those budget-friendly videos. This is going to be how you guys can farm the Sonic airdrop, and also at the end of the video, I'll show you guys how to get some free crypto. So you guys are going to love this one. I'll make sure you guys have all the information that you need for Sonic, how to get started, how to bridge over, how to do this thing. Let's go and get into it. But first, if you guys are new to Drake on Digital, I talk all things crypto, DeFi, NFTs, you name it. If that's your cup of tea, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, tell me where you guys are watching this from. Let's get into it. So first things first is Sonic is absolutely booming. And what's crazy is the Sonic token hasn't really gone up in price a bunch. Now, okay, the past day, 2 days, it finally started going up. But still, I still think it's being slept on. Sonic is like 70 cents or 71 cents at the time of recording. And just imagine if the Sonic price doubles from here, this TVL is going to skyrocket, because not only is this driven by stablecoin, but a lot of this is paired with the S token. So if S token goes up, TVL goes up, because if something was originally 50 cents and it goes to $1, theoretically the market cap of that token doubles. Anyways, let's go and get into this. Let's show you guys how to get onto Sonic. The first way to get onto Sonic, depending on where you're coming from, one of the easiest bridges to use is likely going to be D-Bridge. This one is pretty simple to use. You can also get some points. So for other airdrops, D-Bridge is issuing their token. So as you're getting more points with this, you are actually going to be getting more brownie points for an airdrop, for D-Bridge, free tokens. Have fun, free money. But D-Bridge is going to be your best bridge to use depending on where you're coming from, obviously. If you're coming from Solana, all you do is you link up your Phantom wallet from Solana, you got some USDC into it, and then select the Sonic chain. So simply how this would work is I would go to Sonic, and then I would say, okay, let's go and get some USDC on Sonic. So this is allowing me to bridge 1,000 USDC from Solana over to Sonic, and you can see here that small fee, 0.8% or 0.80 cents is going to be the cost on a $1,000 swap. Relatively inexpensive. It's less than 0.1%. So something to consider. You can also swap over from base. Just depending on where you guys are from, you guys can go through multiple routes. I mean, D-Bridge is literally the sauce for this. Now, if you're the type of person who doesn't even know how to do this DeFi stuff, that's okay. It's a great time to learn. So if you got some USDC on base, you can do the same thing. You can bridge over to Sonic and get your USDC on Sonic. I like to use these stablecoins the best because these typically have the best liquidity on bridges. Whereas if you're trying to bridge from Solana with the Solana token to Sonic into the Sonic token, you're going to incur some swap fees, slippage, and this is not the best place to trade. You do not want to trade on a bridge. It's basically the worst. You want to get onto the aggregators. I'll explain that later in this video, don't worry. But again, when you're bridging, focus and use the stable coins for your bridging mechanism. If you've never used DeFi or experienced it or used it at all, that's okay. The wallets you're going to need for this is Rabby wallet. Rabby wallet is the best wallet for the Sonic chain, in my opinion. You can use MetaMask, but it's absolutely trash. Just use Rabby wallet. You'll thank me later. It's the one that looks like a little bunny rabbit. It's literally just called Rabby. But that's enough for the bridge. All right, so once you get your funds bridged over, now it's time to play. These are all the different DeFi protocols that you guys can use. This is on DefiLlama. Preferably, if you're new to DeFi and you're trying to stay away from risk, try to stay in the top 15, top 10 protocols. Typically, the barometer I like to use is over 1 mil in TVL. The reason I say over 1 mil in TVL is because 1 million is kind of that buffer mark to be like, yeah, this is legitimate, or this is sus. Like, they have some small protocols, but you just don't want to get caught with your money stuck in them and getting absolutely roasted. Now, keep in mind things like Curve, like this is a legitimate protocol. It just barely has any liquidity on Sonic because most of it's liquidity over on Ethereum. But just something to consider, like if you're new to DeFi and crypto, this is kind of where you want to start. Anything 1 mil plus, you can go ahead and play around with those. But before you play around with them, just because they have over 1 mil in TVL, doesn't mean they are completely okay. That's just a good barometer to use. That way it's like you aren't researching 65 different protocols. You can simplify it down and be like, okay, I'll stick with the top 20 and then I'll see what these guys are, see if they're sus, see if they're legit, see how it is, see if there's any issues. I'm going to close out this tab to speed it up, and I'm also going to, get rid of my face because this is just absolutely slowing everything down. So we know what to use on DefiLlama. Now, once you bridge over to Sonic, you are going to want to check out your Sonic points. I'll drop a link in the description below so you guys can check this out as well. I'll leave a link to dbridge. I'll make sure drop that link, dbridge. Sonic points is going to show up here. Now, some of the dApps actually integrate your Sonic points directly on the dApp itself. So this is kind of cool. This is over on SwapX. Not all of them do this, but you'll be able to see your points along the way. Remember, the Sonic points is basically how you're going to be farming this airdrop right here. I'll leave a link so you guys can farm this. I'm not really going to go through all this because I'm just going to show you in the video so you can literally see with like images, and I'm a visual learner, so I hate reading this stuff. But 3 of the things to keep in mind is, 1, you have the passive points. This is simply just by holding certain assets. So those certain assets are going to be broken down here. You got SCUSD, which is a derivative USD. It's basically just wrapped USDC is all it is. That's all. Nothing special. You have USDE, which is USDC.E, which is literally just their stablecoin that they have bridged over. You got some ETH, you got Sonic and some LSTs. You got one wrapped ETH and Stone BTC, which are basically just, again, other LST derivatives, but for Ethereum and Bitcoin. And then same thing with the Bitcoin ones. The second set of points are going to be directly through the apps itself. So if you're using their liquidity programs that they have on their app, you can get some boosted points. And then you have gems for more allocations. These gems are going to be on the different apps themselves, and they will show you directly on there. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next because that's enough there. But if you guys want to farm and get started, you guys can use this code right here, or you can just go without a code. Or actually, better yet, sign up with a code, drop it in the comments below, and then someone else can use your code. But if you want to use mine, it's 89793G. I'll put it in the link below. But if you want to use someone else's, go for it. Please do. Now, we got our Sonic over here. Let me show you guys some of my favorite dApps to use. These ones, in my opinion, are the best ones to use and ones that have the liquidity and that are, quote unquote, the safer farms. The first one is Shadow. Shadow, in my opinion, is going nuts in ham. And it's absolutely crushing it. I want to show you guys the chart on Shadow so you guys can see what's up. But this thing literally was like $10 a week ago, and it's now over $150. Now, to say this is the top, to say this is the bottom, I'm not going to say that. Like, dude, you can farm this thing for free and do what you want with it. Like, you do not have to buy this coin. You can literally farm it on the 3-3 DEX. Literally, all you do is you go over here on liquidity and filter based on APR. Some things to keep in mind, like consider these guys. Like, this is super important. First is keep it simple. Do not overcomplicate this. I have some people who are like, yeah, you should lend out some Sonic, borrow some stable coins, take those stable coins and buy this and wrap this and then hedge your position on, what is the thing called? On Navigator exchange and a leverage short. Like, no, forget all that garbage. Look, keep it simple. Do not get liquidated. Last bull run, I tried to complicate it. I ended up getting it exploited on one protocol because they got hacked. I ended up getting liquidated on another protocol because I was keeping my health ratio too low. Guys, you are dealing with an extremely high vol asset. This is the Sonic token. It's literally up like 25% overnight. And that means it can literally go down 50% overnight. Like, that's the type of volatility you're dealing with. Do not overcomplicate this. Keep this simple. Don't be too technical and don't mess this up. Like, if you're going to be super technical, you are absolutely going to mess it up. If you keep it simple, like, hey, I'm going to deposit into this liquidity pool and earn this yield just to earn some points, great. That's simple. Now, okay, it's not as simple as it could be, but it's more simple than just like yeah, I'm going to loop and leverage, and then I'm going to take these tokens and hedge, and then use Navigator protocol to leverage short. That way I'm hedged and I don't get, no, forget that junk. Keep it simple. Now, some people are like, hey, look, how do I remember all these sites? Guys, I just showed you guys DefiLlama. It's really simple to use that. And also a really cool feature with Rabby is if you go into the Rabby wallet, you can literally scroll down and it will show you based on where you are deposited. So here's the cool part about Rabby. If you click here and you're like, yo, let me go ahead and click on Rabby and see what's up. You can literally go here and see what's deposited. Like, hey, look, I have some Sonic deposited into Beets. Actually, it's just STS. So I have a liquid stake Sonic token. Or you can simply just create a dashboard or a spreadsheet just to display and show all that. But that's just one thing. That's like literally a super simple way to do it. Your wallet will literally track all of it for you. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. You can simply just go onto a spreadsheet and say, hey, I deposited these funds into this website. Like, it's really simple. It's not complicated. Now, another thing is be careful with these derivative tokens. Now, one of these tokens in particular I'm going to show you is, because I know a lot of people are going to play with this, is Rings. Now, I'm not saying Rings is a bad protocol, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea, or I'm not saying it's a bad idea to deposit into here. In fact, if you want to deposit, take on the risk, you guys can do that. But this is literally just a wrapped USDC token. Yes, sure, you can redeem worst case scenario. So if you redeem 1,000, you can get your USDC back, waiting 5 days, and with a 0.1%. I'm just telling you from experience, I've seen USDC depeg on Sonic. This was like 2 years ago when they had an issue with their bridge. That was not fun, especially if you're having to wait 5 days to get out. Typically, that's like a bear market thing, something to keep in mind, but be careful with that. Like, you withdraw, you could get absolutely roasted if you're stuck in this holding period, and you never want to lock up your funds. I want to show you guys a stable coin. This was supposed to be $1. This is my or Cheat. They had a stablecoin. It ended up getting hacked and exploited, and you can see here their stablecoin is trading at 20 cents. Stablecoins are not meant to be an investment. They are meant to be a transition asset. So you sell from one asset, park it into stables to buy another asset. This is not something to sit in and chill with, but just something to consider and something to study. If you see here their liquid stake token, the SCUSD, it's currently a little bit below $1. It's not bad. And the reason for that is there's high demand. So as people are farming, as people are leveraging, as people are excited to use this stuff, there's no issues. However, when there's a liquidation event, usually a volatile price action with Phantom, or there's an exploit, this is where you can see this thing absolutely depeg, because again, guys, this is a derivative. It's a wrapped token. You do not know the additional risks that are involved when people are depositing into Rings and taking it somewhere else. I'm not saying don't use Rings. I'm just sharing the information with you guys so you guys can make your own decision. Now, let's go and get back to Shadow. I'm sorry to go on a tangent, but I had to share that information with you guys. So on Shadow, there's different ways you guys can play this. The first is, hey, look, I want to keep it simple with as least risk as possible. One of those is going to be, hey, look, I'm bullish on Sonic. I want exposure to S, but I don't want to have random smart contract exposure, etc. Your simplest one is going to be STS and S. You're going to get 16x activity points on this, and you are also going to get the yield from STS, and you're also going to get the farms from the Shadow exchange. So you're going to, now it's not 236 APR, especially if you select wider ranges, it's actually going to be less. It's going to be like 48%. So you're going to be getting a juicy APR. Well, depending on how concentrated you go, you're going to be getting the Sonic points, and you're also going to be getting the Shadow rewards. These Shadow rewards, you can actually decide to stake and vote and continue to earn this yield, or you can simply redeem and get into the X33. X33 is not going to be exactly the price of one Shadow. In fact, it's about half the price. So technically the yields are theoretically cut in half if you're just the type of person to farm and dump, which you can do that as well. But going back to Shadow, your risk depositing into the STS pool is obviously one is smart contract risk with the Shadow exchange, which there's smart contract risks. There's going to be a lot of issues. Not good, but so far it's proven itself and it's done really well and it's got a lot of liquidity in it. And the second is the STS token depegs, which is the liquid stake Sonic token. But that is not a super major issue. And the reason for that is if you have some STS, you can simply unstake this and you just have to wait a certain period. So 14 days. So worst case scenario, you have to wait 14 days to get out of this. And it's literally in the Sonic token. Theoretically, if something bad was to happen, you can hedge yourself by doing a short position, a leverage short, etc. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm just showing you guys your risk with that pool. You can also get super complicated, and I wouldn't say super complicated, but try to get fancy and do the stablecoin pool, USDC-E and SCUSD. You already understand the risk there. Like, are you coming over here to farm with stables at 47% APR with the chance of losing everything because the token depegs? I'm not about that. I'm about asymmetric. So if I'm going to come over here on Sonic, if I'm not outperforming Sonic, then what the pants am I doing? I'm farming Sonic. I'm coming over here to farm and I'm bullish on Sonic. So I price my exposure or measure my exposure in the Sonic token. So if I'm not outperforming Sonic, what am I doing? The easiest way to simply do this to see if you're outperforming is click on the token and pair it in the S token. So you can see here, this is Shadow and Wrapped Sonic. If I want to see if I'm absolutely getting roasted or if I'm outperforming this thing, this button right here, click it. You see this? Shadow is outperforming Sonic by leaps and bounds. So what this means is on February 9th, 50 Sonic would equal 1 Shadow. Now it's 210 Sonic to equal 1 Shadow. What this tells me is this is not only going up in dollar terms, but this is also going up in phantom terms. My whole goal is to outperform phantom if I'm playing with this stuff. If not, like if I'm just trying to get exposure to phantom, just get some phantom, liquid stake it, and then park it into one of the single-sided farms, which I'll get into later in this video. But going back to this, this is the other bridge. If you have your funds on Phantom, you're going to use the upgrade feature. So you're going to upgrade your Phantom to Sonic. This is 1-to-1. It's super easy. It happens in like 2 seconds. This link will be in the description below, so don't worry about that. But going back to Shadow, if you want to get a somewhat complicated and exposure to some of the ecosystem assets, you get out of the stables and you run to things like MCLB. I'm bullish on MGLB. I'm bullish on Fiery. I'm bullish on F-Bomb. Those guys are basically the same dudes. I think those will do extremely well, but you can get exposure via MCLB and Sonic. But remember, you want to make sure you're outperforming Sonic. If you take a look at MCLB, it's actually underperforming Sonic recently just due to price action. And we aren't going to load. Nice. But that doesn't mean that's like a bad thing. Like, you actually are hedging your position with MCLB because it's a multi-chain asset. And the reason it's multi-chain is because it's actually a DeFi DAO, and their revenues that they generate using these 3-3 dexes, they actually use that revenue to buy back and burn the MCLB token. A little more in depth than this video needs. I'm sorry if this is over your head or a deep dive, but this will be everything that you guys need to hear and need to know. That way you guys aren't getting absolutely roasted. How do I know and why do I know this stuff? Is because I got absolutely roasted. And that's why I'm sharing this stuff with you, so you guys don't make my mistakes I made last bull run. So MCLB, you can see here that it's actually underperforming Sonic. So again, this goes back to the question, if I'm not outperforming Sonic, what am I doing? Now, keep in mind, it's not a massive outperformance. So you have to factor in, okay, well, I can earn 473% APR. Well, technically like 240. And the reason it's like 240 because if you're insta-selling the Shadow, then yeah, that's why. Because it gets cut in half when you go to the liquid stake form. You just have to understand how this stuff works. But MCLB 473. Okay, well, is it worth it? Well, actually, it's like 240%. So 2x, if I look at the price, it was at 2, it's now at 1.6, so it's down like 20%. So it could be worth it. It allows me to hedge my exposure against Sonic, and it also allows me to earn a yield. I'll take it. So that is something that needs to be going on in your mind and the thought processes. You can also keep in mind these yields do change from week to week. So if you want to front run and know what's going to be next, go to the voting section and then filter based on the total votes and then filter based on the TVL. If it has the most votes, this does not mean it's going to get the most amount of emissions. The reason I say that is because if you see you have 1 mil in emissions and 2.9 mil in TVL, 1 mil in emissions here and 7.1 mil in TVL, which one's going to have a higher APR? It's a rhetorical question. This one's going to have a higher APR because there's a third of the TVL, or actually like a half, because let's just call it 3 mil. So 7 mil, 3 mil, and you have more rewards. Let's just call them equal rewards. If you have half the amount of people with the same amount of rewards, that means the mouse or the food being fed to those mouths is going to be twice as much. So if I have 10 people in a room and 20 pieces of pizza, I'm going to give 2 pieces to each person. If I have 20 people in a room based on TVL and 20 pieces of pizza, those kids are only going to get 1 pizza a pop. I want to be in that 10 kid room, 20 pizzas. That's what I want. Something to consider. Also, another thing, the APRs, these are denominated in the shadow token. So if shadow goes up, the APRs go up. Shadow goes down, APRs go down. So just because you see, 67% APR, shadow can literally go down overnight, like down 70%. Your APR is going to nuke. That's why you have to factor this in. Now, one other thing you can do is get super degen, but stay away from smart contract risk so you can have a levered bet to the upside and also get a yield. Me personally, I don't think this is the best idea. And the reason for that is, sure, you get a ton of volatility and you get a lot of APR, but you miss out on the upside on a lot of these things. And this has to do with the meme coins. 3 of my favorite meme coins on here are THC, Shido, and Fiery. Goggles is cool too. It's not my favorite though, but this is Shido. So you can see here, you can farm with a meme coin. Shido earns 614%, but this goes back to the question. If you're not outperforming Sonic, what are you doing? If you're outperforming Sonic and then providing liquidity to make that underperform, what are you doing? So this goes back to this. If you're outperforming Sonic and you're setting yourself up in a way to outperform Sonic, do not ruin that outperformance by providing liquidity, because then you will also get wrecked. But if your goal is just to sack Sonic, this is a great farm too. But if you price, it's pricing in shadow. So we need to go to Shido. I want to show you guys Shido priced in Sonic so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Shido has recently been massively outperforming Sonic. So if I price Shido in Sonic, you can see here that it is doing leaps and bounds better. This is on a 15-minute chart. So literally, if I had 10 Sonic on the 15th and I threw it at Shido, I would now have 40 Sonic on the 19th. So not only did Sonic double in price, but I quadrupled my Sonic position. So if I had $50 invested in Sonic, I basically now have $400. And the reason for that is because I did a 4x on the Sonic position and Sonic 2x'd. So 50 times 4 is 200. And then you go ahead and multiply that by 2 and you now have $400. So it's not just doing in gains, but basically I just turned $50 into $400. Now keep in mind, there's a meme coin, so it could get absolutely roasted. Just some things that need to go on in your head. Again, this video might be overwhelming, but watch it a couple times. It's literally everything that you need. I don't make a bunch of videos like I used to, so I try to just brain dump everything in here. Oh, excuse me. So the next other meme coin is Fiery. Again, this goes back to the question, if you're not outperforming Sonic, what are you doing? Well, Fiery is actually performing as well as or better than Sonic, so you're okay with this. So you can simply just hold this one and just do nothing, or you can be like, yo, I can't sit on my hands. I got to do something. And you can throw it into one of these farms. Fiery. And you can see here, actually Fiery is terrible on this one. I think it's on Metro where it's good. Fiery. Nope. Maybe it's Equalizer. Yeah, it's got to be Equalizer. Yeah, Fiery. Yeah, 15%. This is just one of those that you just want to sit on your hands and do nothing. Personally, like no, don't overcomplicate it. This Fiery is one of Fiery Dev's meme coins that he likes, and he's a whale. He's got a lot of cash, so he can have fun with that. I think Fiery might be good on Beets. Let me check Beets real quick. It's okay, 134%, but you also have exposure to all these other ones. These are different memes. Eco, THC. THC is one of my favorite. So if you go to THC, let's go and take a look at this performance. This one actually has been performing as good as or better than the Sonic token itself. So it's kind of comfy to sit in THC. I just like the guy behind it. He's a cool guy. But you can see here over time, THC has been steadily climbing. This is actually a really good LP meme coin. So you can see here it actually trades in a range. So about 0.37 to 0.7. So basically it's like a 2x levered on Sonic. So if Sonic goes down 20%, THC goes down 40. If Sonic goes up 20%, THC goes up 40. So this would actually be a really good one to provide liquidity because it provides, or it has volatility, but it also has somewhat of a hedge downside. So yeah, this pays 1,000% APR. Kind of I wouldn't say a no-brainer to LP because you got to keep in mind you are exposed to risk, which is the meme coin itself, but this is just one of those strategies as well. Now, if you're less degen, less risky, you don't want to touch concentrated, that's also one of those things. Like here, I want to show you guys this. This is the good and bad thing about concentrated liquidity. If I want to get this quote unquote insane APR, you see this orange line? This is the price of THC compared to Sonic. Only when it's in this small box range do I get a yield. So I'm only earning 9,396% APR whenever it trades in that range. Anytime it's outside of it, I'm out of range and I'm earning nothing. So if you're a more advanced DeFi farmer and you want to play around with this, you guys can do this here. But keep in mind, just because you see this yield doesn't mean you get it. Because the ticks, if you're outside of range, you're getting roasted. So if you're trying to keep it safe and play it somewhat safe, you could probably do something like passive with a meme coin and get away with about 315% APR. Keep in mind, it's a meme coin. And me personally, I look at it like I'd rather just hold the THC. But I already have enough Sonic. But going to the next farm, this is on Beets Finance. This is OG. This guy has been around for a long time. But you can get more of your less degen stuff here. And you can also get exposure to your degen stuff if you want. But for the most part, Beets is kind of your go-to place for a simplified, not a ton of impermanent loss. You can farm your points. This is a place where you go with size and kind of chill. Personally, I like the fresh Beets pool because I'm bullish on Beets. So I'm like, hey, throw it in, have some fun. And I like the Stake Sonic Symphony. Yeah, it's only 6.21% APR, but I'm chill with that. The reason for that is because I'm going in with size and I'm farming points. And I'd rather not wake up one day and see all my Sonic tokens just gone. Beets has been around for a bit. I don't think the devs are going to rug now. It's been like 4 years now. I mean, surely they would have rugged by now. But yeah, this is something to consider with Beets. This is your protocol, or my protocol I use for size. The next one is Equalizer. These guys have been around the bush. They actually survived throughout the bear. They were born in the bear market. But I don't think these guys are going anywhere. These guys are kind of like Shadow, but they have time under their belt. Andre likes Shadow. He's been retweeting them. But these guys are the new kids on the block. They did not stick around and be around with Equal. Equal was around on Phantom, and they're also around on Sonic as the migration occurred. But I'm really bullish on Equalizer. I like Hoops. Hoops is a great dev. A lot of the OG Phantom members are on this place, but you don't have to buy Equalizer. You can simply just farm with the APRs. Now, if you want to get some Equalizer and participate in the bribes, just like over on Shadow, you can buy and lock some up, or you can even go on to PaintSwap and buy some of the listings on the marketplace for Equalizer. These usually sell at a discount because they're locked positions, meaning you cannot sell them unless someone else is purchasing them from you P2P. So I want to show you guys the collections. So you can see your Equalizer. And I love PaintSwap for this because they kind of keep it simple just to show you guys what's up. But if you go on here, you can literally see the different locked positions that are like, yeah, that's good. No, that's not. That's a discount. I'll take that type of thing. While it's loading. Okay, so I can get this equal NFT for 1.2 thousand Sonic. The actual price of it is, every time I hover over, is 1,413 Phantom. So what that tells me is that I'm getting this at theoretically about a 12 or 13% discount. So that's cheap. Or like this one, it's worth 6 Phantom and I can buy it for 3.5 Sonic. Sonic is the same as Phantom 1-to-1. So I'm basically getting this half off. That's a steal. Or like this one, 682 for 585. That's how you can get like the discounted ones. This also goes as a testament for Brush. Brush is one of the ecosystem protocols on Phantom as well. But these guys have the best marketplace, NFT marketplace by far. They also have the GameFi platform. But I do like Brush. I think Brush is going places. And as more and more is used, they're literally just burning Brush. So it's a deflationary token. I like Brush. Brush is cool. Did I mention I like Brush? Brush is one of those micro caps. I want to show it to you guys. Here's Brush. So Brush, also one of those things. If you're not outperforming Sonic, what are you doing? And if you are, good for you. Brush is absolutely outperforming Sonic. Good for it. Now, it wasn't always doing this, but it was, or it has been recently now. So you can see here is actually just getting roasted against Sonic. But then it was like, nah, bruh, today's my day. So it goes up. But whatever. All right. We were just on Beets. We were on Equal. So Equal, the bribes, these happen every week on Wednesday. This is about to happen, in 3 hours. So 3 hour, T-minus 3 hours, the voting goes. But if you have some Equal, you can vote on some of these pools and you earn some of these APRs. So let's say I had one Equal. I'm basically getting 8 cents per vote. So one Equal, $3 and 52. If that'll basically pay me $5.20. So it's like one Equal that's paying like 150% APR because Equal is actually like $4.50 now. That's why it shows 106. But keep in mind the Equal token is volatile. So theoretically, I get my investment back after 1 year because my token is locked. Now, these go up, these go down over time, but that's kind of how you can factor in. When you're buying the Equal token, you're basically buying cash flow. So you're not buying the token itself. If you're buying the locked version, you're buying cash flow. You can also farm Equal. So again, this goes back to you do not have to buy this junk. You can literally provide liquidity and farm and earn these different things. So you can size in with Wrap Sonic and STS if you got a bunch, and then you can earn this 4.85% APR and just earn it, get the Equal, and then do what you want with it. And you also get Sonic points. That's the best part about it. The next one is Metro. Now, Metro is kind of like Meteora on Solana. But if you don't know what Meteora is, it's basically a dynamic liquidity market maker. That's what DLMM stands for. Man, lots of talking. So when you're depositing into this, you have to consider, what do you want to do? Are you trying to take on risk, or are you just trying to simply farm? If you're just simply farming, you want to and receive no impermanent loss, you want to stick with STS and S. 3%, I mean, theoretically, it's just a free 3% because you're doing STS and S. But again, you're taking on smart contract risk. So it's like, I would rather go on Beets Finance over this new protocol. I'm not saying anything is wrong with this protocol. I'm just saying if you're going in with size, I'd rather go with something that's been proven and stood the test of time. However, you can have some fun and play around with this stuff. Like THC and USDC pair, this thing is actually paying really, really good. What's the catch? Well, if you take a look and see what the catch is, Distribution, you might have to, that's why you have to deposit into a certain range. So if you're going extremely wide, you're going to get roasted. But if you're going in this narrow range right here, basically from 40 cents to 47 cents, sure, you can get that APR, but also factor in that you could be getting roasted on the other side where you lose all your THC if it moons overnight. So it's like, do you want to capture the upside or are you trying to farm yield? Those are some things you need to consider. Actually, it looks like you had to be in this range to get that APR. But anyways, that's something to consider there as well. But you can farm with Meteora, and you can also farm some of the Metro token. This Metro token, you can come over here and stake, and you can earn a yield with this. So you can vote on the different pools, and you can also just simply earn the rewards just for staking. This earns some of the revenue generated from the protocol. And this voting, this is the same concept. It's kind of like Curve or like the other guys. If some people come over here and bribe, you can actually get some of these bribes and get some of the fees. Another thing to consider. All of these kind of have like these similar token breakdown and token format to where you earn token and then you lock and then you farm. Another one is SwapX. Me personally, like this is new. It also adds additional complexities. If you're that complex farmer, you're advanced, go for it, have fun. Me personally, I don't mess with this junk, but you can see here how it gives you an APR of 311%. There's fine print. Hover over it. Manual APR is 134. Automated is 311%. So who is managing this vault? This is actually managed by Itchy Protocol. If you guys don't know this, Itchy Protocol actually was exploited about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. And they had a risk with it was like some buy wall that they had set up and their token got absolutely roasted. I am not a fan of stuff like that, especially when I see that. I did like Itchy back in the day, but I was, I guess you can say, a noob. I still am a noob. I learn every single day, and that's why I'm sharing this information with you guys. But I want to show you guys a chart, and then you tell me what you guys think. So, yeah, I think this is it. So this thing used to be like $100, and they were managing liquidity for the Itchy token itself. And one day, it just said, yeah, our buy wall is absolutely busted, and we are roasted. So it had something that looked like this. So you wake up or you go to bed one night, you got $140. So if you got 10 of them, you got $1,400 in your pocket, and it nukes overnight to like $1. How would you feel? Not very good. Anyways, just something to consider. Like if these guys couldn't even manage their own liquidity, maybe they did learn better. Like I don't want them managing my liquidity. So you can do manual, but understand you're going to have less APR. So it's kind of like, I would rather go with something else, but some people love this platform. I mean, they got a referral link on it, so some people like that too. And that's probably allowing them to do really well. I'm not bashing on this protocol. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I don't want someone who got absolutely roasted 2 years ago to be managing my funds. Now, I can do manual if I want, but I'd rather just use some of the protocols that I know. But SwapX has been doing really, really, really well performance-wise. So I'll give them that much. They're crushing it. Another one is WagMe DAO. This is Daniel Sesta's little protocol and project. This is, again, it's like a automated, it's automated liquidity manager. But the difference between WagMe and the other is they didn't have the exploit. However, do you want someone else managing your funds? Me personally, I don't like that type of thing, but he's been doing this and there hasn't been any exploits and this has been okay. So if that's your cup of tea, you can do that as well. Again, that's entirely up to you. I'm bullish on Danny. I like what he's doing. I like what he's building. And I also like his Anon token, but you can also come over here and farm and get some points. Now, this is where we get simple. Let's say you have some idle S tokens. You're like, bruh, oh, dude, 50%. I'm going to go hit this. I mean, no, I'm not. I'm just kidding. Actually, this is a great example. You see here the total supply is 70,000 and the total borrow is 69,000. That means if I deposit $10,000 in here and someone else comes and borrows it, I cannot withdraw. So Just because you see an APR doesn't mean you should just go ape it. There's a reason it's a high APR. You need to understand why. If you're willing to take on that risk, then you're like, okay, that's fine. The risk with this pool is if Goggles nukes overnight or just nukes in a one candle and the pool is unable to properly collateralize itself. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that if it's unable to sell its assets in time to keep the pool at proper liquidity levels, then it's not fully backed. So like if this token, even though it's worth 48 bands and it gets cut in half in like a second, it's now worth 24 bands. So it thinks that, oh, dude, some guy borrowed a bunch of S to buy more Goggles and now it's worth half that. How's he going to repay his S? That's what you have to consider. Like, who are you paired against? Now, if I have something that's S and then STS or like S and USDCE, and I'm like, okay, that's not terrible. Maybe I'll pair with something like this. But preferably, I like to see something that is a good yield and has oversupply and a way to exit. This is something that you want to monitor, though, if you're depositing here. If you're depositing and you're just like, yeah, I'll come back at 10 years from now. I've done this before. You come back and there's been an exploit or there's been a liquidation event and you can't withdraw. Like your funds are stuck. You're roasted. It's because some other guy borrowed and leveraged and degened your money away. That's what the risk is with the APR. So again, single-sided, a little bit less risk because it's not like some risk that you can't measure, like depositing into rings and messing with the SCUSDC. There's things you can't measure with that. Like they might be improperly leveraging SCUSD on a different platform, whatever. This is literally simple. Like your risk is S and Goggles. If Goggles goes down 50% or S goes down or up too fast or whatever, there's a liquidation event, your risk is directly in this pool itself. Now, there also is a risk of someone hacking you, but that's with every single protocol. Well, hacking the vault. Another one you can use is Silo. This has a ton of TVL. I think you're going to be more on the safe side with this because you can see here that like this available to borrow 11 mil. So if I deposit $1,000 in this, I'm easily going to be able to withdraw. There's 11 mil in liquidity for me to withdraw because there's 20 mil that's been borrowed, but 11 mil can withdraw. And I'm going to earn a somewhat safe 13% APR. 1% in Silo, 7.6% in S, and 5.2% in the USDC token. Another thing to consider. This will also get you Sonic points as well, depending on the vault. But if I go on to this one, this gives me 8x points. So see, 8x points, and I get Silo points. Again, something to consider as well. You can go back on to the Sonic Medium article and check all that out. Another protocol is Euler Finance. Now, Euler Finance is kind of like Aave, but way more degen. Now, be careful with this because some people will lever up and you don't know what you're getting into. The reason I say that is because some other person who's a degen and decides to lever loop and ultra long borrow with all these different strategies right here. I'll show you the strategies so you guys can see what it's up. Do you want to lend out to these degens? Yeah, go for it. You can do it, but just understand the risks that you're taking on. So you are going to farm a lot of points with this, but just understand what you're getting into and understand the risk. If you're more advanced, you can understand that and measure yourself. But always things to gauge is how much liquidity is there. The more liquidity, the better, because you want to be able to exit if there is like a catastrophic event or something. These are some of the different places or different APRs that you can pay to borrow different assets. But simply, if you want to do this, you can lend out some Sonic, earn 5.5% from this, and then you can come over here and borrow tokens against it. So you would supply in here, and then you'll be able to borrow using your asset as collateral. But again, this goes back to the same concept of, hey, do you want to take on this risk? So you select any asset. For this example, we're going to do Wrap Sonic. And this will show you the different pools that you can use in order to borrow against it. Now, if you're borrowing, I mean, yeah, you don't have as much risk besides being liquidated. But when you're supplying this, understand who you're supplying to. If you're supplying to someone who is like lending you out a meme coin that could go down 50% overnight, you're probably not going to get your collateral, especially in a catastrophic event, but something to consider. You guys can use Euler, but they have had exploits in the past. So when I hear that, that's like, I'm good. Now, another one is Mach-Fi. I'm not playing with this one. Again, guys, I'm trying to keep it simple over here. If I'm not outperforming S, what am I doing? I'm not trying to do any complicated strategies, anything crazy. I'm just here to farm points and get exposure to the Sonic token itself. I'm bullish Sonic. I'm bullish S. I don't need to overcomplicate it. I got some of the memes. I got some of the other tokens to increase my exposure to the upside. It also does go to the downside as well. But yeah, that's how I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it simple. But you can go over on Mach, same thing. You lend out tokens, borrow against them. Literally self-explanatory. If you want to get super degen, you got Snake, which is a Tomb fork. I think it's dead now, so we'll not share that one. But the next one is Eggs Finance. This is literally just a wrapped version of Phantom with a tax. So if I wanted to, let's see, it's not letting me swap. Mint has ended. Okay, so you got to purchase. But there used to be a tax on this. So if you want to basically just get exposure to Sonic without using STS, like the liquid stake version, this is kind of another S token. This just allows you to pair and farm. And the reason people are wanting eggs is because they're farming this APR. So 392% is basically what they're earning in APR with the Shadow token. But again, that's paired with eggs and USDC-E. So think of Eggs Finance as allowing you to get a higher yield on a Phantom stable pair. Again, I want exposure to Phantom, so I'm not all about pairing my token with a stable coin, because it's like the best a stable coin can do is go to $1, and the worst it can do is go to 0. No thanks. I would rather have an asymmetric bet, whereas Sonic can go to $10, $20, whatever it can go to, but it can also go to 0. So it's like, okay, same bet. I'm not saying USDC is going to go to 0, but I've seen several times where it depegged, and I remember I had some USDC on Sonic, and it did indeed go to 0 because there was bridge exploit. Again, so there's some things that you may think are okay, but when it comes down to it, when it comes down to crunch time, you find out not so much. Another one is Navigator. This is a perp DEX. This is like your GMX. You can simply go over here and deposit into the vaults. If you go on to earn, here it is. So you can stake your Navi or escrowed Navi and earn this 21% yield. It's only like 8% in S, and then most of it is in locked Navi. So you aren't really earning those tokens. And then you can also earn 51% in S with the NLP token. NLP is like a mix of Sonic, Bitcoin, ETH, USDC, and other stable coins. Is it worth that 50%? Like, again, you have to ask yourself, if I'm not outperforming S, what am I doing? Now, you also have to ask yourself, if you're not outperforming Bitcoin, what are you doing? So my bet is I think Sonic will do well from here, and it will outperform Bitcoin. But that's my personal opinion. And of course, this is like a short-term trade. Overall, like long-term, Bitcoin is just going to outperform everything. Like that is the asset. But again, you can mess around with the stable pool as well. This will earn you 40% in Sonic. You have to factor in, okay, do I want exposure to all these assets? USDT, USDC, and most of it is SCUSD. It's good in a bull, but in a bear, when everyone is trying to move around and get out and exit the chain or do stuff, it'll depeg. Like, I'm just telling you, it will depeg. But those are things that you guys can mess around with. That is Sonic in a nutshell. I know that was a long video. I'll drop all the links in the description below. But if you guys enjoyed that video, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Tell me what you guys think of the video. I got a link to the DigiSquad Discord if you guys would like to join that as well. This was the free crypto thing I was talking about. You guys can earn $75 in free crypto. All you got to do is make a buy. Yeah, you can't sell. You got to buy it first. You have to purchase at least $100 on Gemini, and you can use this code EKKMAXUE, and you will get $75 in free crypto. So it's pretty simple. Like, Dude, why not? You just go on there, buy the crypto that you want. It'll cost you like $3 in fees. And then boom, you get free crypto. It's a no-brainer. Let's go and hit you guys with a wisdom one-liner. Proverbs chapter 20 verses 15. Gold there is and rubies in abundance, but lips that speak knowledge are as rare as a jewel. Be good, be righteous. Peace.